Monday night, the Board of Commissioners met in a special called regular meeting and discussed many topics, including the Broadway Bridge, which was the most popular item of the night. And to tell us about that and some other business from the City Commission meeting, we've got Austin Horn from the State Journal. Austin, how are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Let's just go ahead and get into the aforementioned Broadway Bridge item. We had a ton of citizen comments Monday night, occupying over half of the meeting, read by City Clerk Shermaine Maxwell, mostly expressing support for the rehabilitation of the Broadway Bridge. Tell us about that and how the commissioners seem to respond.
Right. So there's a big push on social media to get people to send in letters in support of, quote, saving the Broadway Bridge. I think I counted 16 letters to that effect. There might have been one that cast some doubt on it, one or two, and then a couple zoning change letters as well. So Shermaine, who reads all of these comments, had her hands full at the beginning of the meeting. But most of them were basically arguing for the city to take over the bridge, which currently belongs to the state, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And the Transportation Cabinet doesn't want it anymore. It's been deemed to be failing. Imminent failure, I think, is the technical designation for it. And the state is basically offering any entity, in this case, it's likely going to be the city, but they're offering any entity $600K to take it, which that would be the price tag for a potential removal that would make it safe so debris doesn't fall. And we had a lot of people, particularly those in the historic preservation community and those who aren't really super well-known Frankfurt names, talk about the benefits of having a more connected downtown. It would sort of open up that other side of the river, which there really isn't a ton going on right now. We have the Benson Marina, that's sort of the main attraction on that side of the river. And then there's the neighborhood of Buttermere Hill, but at the same time, the access to get to Buttermere Hill isn't great. I mean, it's up on a hill. It's a pretty big hill. So people are arguing for that, the economic benefits of having the bridge. You had some people call back to memories when the bridge was in use. In the early 90s, it was taken out of commission for vehicular traffic. I'm not exactly sure when pedestrians weren't allowed to cross it anymore, but it's been a while, needless to say. It's fenced up, and I think people want to be able to just more easily access both sides of the river. Granted, there are already 3 other bridges that you can cross on foot: Capitol Bridge, the Singing Bridge, and the Connector Bridge, the one close to Miro. So there is already some level of connectedness, but I think people are really hungry for more, and just to really be able to have that be something of an attraction. A lot of people cited bigger cities where the bridges are attractions. Louisville was one I heard, where they have that recently restored bridge right by the park along the Ohio River that people do go and just to cross it because it's a nice bridge. And Chattanooga was another one. So yeah, a lot of support, 16 letters, some of them quite long, much to Shermaine's chagrin maybe. But yeah, the general consensus from the citizen comments was that they would like the city to save it.
And how did the city commissioners seem to respond to the citizen comments? And did they share many of their opinions on Broadway Bridge and what they'd like to see happen?
Yeah, so I think the general sentiment of the whole commission was that they would like to save the bridge. Obviously, nobody is going to say, no, we absolutely don't want any bridge to increase connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. But the rub for some of them, and the 2 in particular who were perhaps enthusiastic about the potential, but pointed out concerns about finances were Patricia Waldridge and Kyle Thompson. Full rehabilitation of the bridge has been slated to cost over $4 million, which, especially when you take into account that the city is potentially forking over $2.5 million to the YMCA, $3 million for this parking garage in Parcel B, potentially more for public infrastructure. And who knows how much Blanton's Landing is going to cost, another big project that the city is really thinking about and trying to push forward. So I think the concern for Waldridge and Thompson is a real one. And it's something where the city is going to have to look at its finances and decide, okay, is this a project that we prioritize over others? When do we do this? That was one possibility that was brought up by Thompson. He was wondering if the city could take over the bridge and sort of sit on it for a little bit before getting more in the way of funds, or before, some of the other projects are finished and maybe more revenue comes in from them, then they can start on this bridge. And it really comes down to, I think most people are in agreement that there should be some kind of pedestrian bridge there. But as it usually comes down to in government and business and really anything, it's how much are you willing to pay? And a new pedestrian bridge, on the other hand, would cost $2 million. So that's a $2 million cut from full rehabilitation of everything along the bridge, including piers, the deck, the whole shebang. So there are going to be some choices that will need to be made, because the state does not want to hang on to this forever. The timeline for when they give it up is unclear. They're still in a consulting party process that has to do with the National Historic Register. And interim city manager Tommy Russell said he asked for an extension for the state, for the city to be able to sort of get its feet under itself on this. So we'll see in the coming weeks. We're supposed to get a report about potential financing options, how much bridge maintenance is going to cost, because that's another big question, in I think 2 weeks from now, or maybe a little less. So we'll know a lot more, I think, by mid or late March.
Gotcha. So yeah, here soon we'll hear more about the Broadway Bridge project. Austin, tell us any more business from Monday night before we let you go.
Yeah, so another big thing that might have it flew under the radar a little bit if you weren't paying attention. The city commission heard first readings for 2 zoning changes for potentially big developments in the city of Frankfort, not downtown, but sort of the outskirts area. One that hasn't really been talked about very much is the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard proposed development near the corner of MLK and the east-west connector. So right as you're turning to go to the Kentucky State entrance along the east-west connector, it would be on your left. And that's for a 120-unit senior living facility. So they had to change the zone from partial commercial, partial residential to entirely commercial for this facility. We don't know a ton about the plan so far, but we do know it's supposed to be big. I think the plans they shared were a little over 100,000 square feet. They say they want to start construction in the fourth quarter of 2021. So there really could be something there soon. It's a hilly and kind of steep, potentially treacherous terrain right there, but there already is some grading, and I'm assuming there will be more as the development continues to go forward. Now, first reading doesn't necessarily mean it's totally done. There still is a second reading at the city. Usually, if it gets a first reading without comment, which this one did, then it probably gets passed. So expect that at next meeting. And the other first reading for a zoning change was the Versailles Road rental property. They changed the zone in order to get more units along Versailles Road. I think it's near Independence Bank slash the Brighton Park area, if you know where that is. And they had a few contentious planning commission meetings on this front. People in the neighborhood are a little upset. Some of them still have questions. In that whole process with the planning commission, they got them to take away townhomes from the development plan. So something did change because of public development, but not everybody is happy yet. Even so, it got a first reading, no objections from the commission. So I would be surprised if we don't see that pass on a second reading next meeting as well.
Well, we'll stay tuned on that. You can see Austin's great work and from his other colleagues as well over at state-journal.com. Austin, thanks so much for being here today, and we'll talk to you soon.